Welcome to another episode of the Sipping and Tripping podcast, where we connect with amazing people. Today's topic is overcoming cancer. I am your host, Desmond Black, and the person that's sipping and tripping with me today is a motivational speaker and a wellness consultant. She is passionate about helping others heal from the inside out. She is a woman who brings health, hope, and happiness to the world. She is a resilient warrior who overcame cancer 25 years ago. She is none other than Miss Alexis Bracey. Now, it's an honor, privilege, and a pleasure to have you on the show today. How are you doing, and how was your week?
I'm doing well. I mean, it's been a really hot week, a muggy week, so that sort of is very draining. But nevertheless, it could be worse. So just be grateful that we're here.
Okay, now you mentioned it being hot. Where are you from?
I'm in Toronto.
Oh, Toronto, and it's hot. Like how hot? What's the temperature?
Well, today it's about 84, but it's humid, so that makes it worse. And all week it was like really high 80s, like into the low 90s. But it's the humidity that really is. Oh, it just drains you.
Yeah, I understand because so that's not too bad compared to Jersey, right? Like so we the other day it was 100 degrees, and then it was 101 the next day, and then 105.
Oh wow, wow.
So it was brutal. They actually had a heat advisory thing. They said if you don't have to be outside, don't go outside.
Oh yeah.
And even in the house with the air conditioners, I was like, wow, this is insane. And it's
Yeah.
amazing how like the ozone is like that. It gets so high. That's one thing I do not miss about the summertime. It's the extreme heat. It bogs you down and it's exhausting and like you lose motivation. I mean, I can't speak for you, but for me, like sometimes I lose motivation because I'm just so bogged down by the heat. And
Oh,
I'll be like, I'll get to that in a minute. Let me just relax a little bit. And then relaxing, you do just that. You just relax. So, and then you look at the clock and say, wow, I really sat my ass this whole time and didn't do much. It's crazy.
that's right. That's right.
Um, so where were you born and where did you grow up?
I grew up in northern Ontario in a small town, and I was there for the first 2 years of my life, and then my parents moved down to another city just south of Toronto. So I've always been raised in a city environment, but it's certainly not my favorite anymore. I prefer country
Okay.
living.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny you say that because, everybody on my father's side of the family, they live in North Carolina. So that's down south. And he always asks me and my younger brother, like, are you guys going to move down here? I'm like, "Well, maybe when I get older, right? Like maybe like 55 and up, something like that. Maybe I'll move down there because it's a different lifestyle. It's slower, it's quieter, and I mean, granted, you get a lot of land, which is good, but what you get with that is it's like isolation because you got your house and your neighbors might be, I don't know, like few
Yeah,
hundred feet away. So you don't have neighbors in close proximity to you. So
right.
that's the one thing. So it's like you're in your own bubble. And like the gas station, you might have to drive 15, 20 minutes just to get to the gas station. So I said for me to adapt to that kind of lifestyle, I think I have to be older. That's just me.
Okay.
Now, so I've never been to Canada. So I mean, tell me how Canada is.
It's similar to the States. We still have all the problems with politics and government policies and the one thing in Canada, our medical is covered, so we don't have, it's not out of pocket, which is really good. Dental isn't, but your medical is, so that's a bonus that I know you don't have in the States.
Yeah, that's definitely a plus.
Yeah, but we have the four seasons, same thing. The we don't get we don't use very seldom do we get forest fires like they do they have in California. We just don't get them. We had a few out west a couple of years ago, but that was like an anomaly. We just don't have them. But it's pretty much the
Right.
same. Quebec is French speaking primarily, but they do speak English as well. And the rest of Canada is English speaking. I personally like the West Coast because of the mountains. I mean, I just find them so majestic and so beautiful.
Right, right. So what about snow? You get a lot of snow or no?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. We get every single province gets snow, and
Okay.
we got skiing, snowmobiling, um, you know, all the winter sports, just like you have as well.
That's good. Hopefully one day I get to experience life in Canada. Because I'm into traveling. The more I get older, that's what I want to do as a family, just travel and see different states and countries if possible. I know a couple of friends of mine are in Jamaica and the Bahamas right now, which secretly I'm jealous a little bit because I'm like, dang. So for me, it's expensive, but a lot of people say it's not. Like the ones in Jamaica, she said it was $1,600, not including the flight to go down there for 4 days. So I don't know if I should be considering that cheap or expensive, but for me, that's expensive. That's a little bit rich for my blood.
Hmm.
So do you have any siblings?
No, I'm an only child.
Mm, how was that growing up? Is the only child?
Well, I didn't know any differently, right? So I entertained myself. Um, I had friends, but certainly not. I didn't have. There's no sibling rivalry or arguments or fights or anything like that. It was just me, myself, and I. And so I mean, you're used to it, so I can't really compare to what it's like to have siblings,
Right,
because I never experienced that. And then having siblings can be a plus or minus. Same thing. If you fight and argue a lot, that's not very good. But the same thing you can say, if you're an only child, you can get lonely. Well, you learn to entertain yourself and keep busy. And so I'm really quite happy being by myself. I have pets, so that's a really big. That's a necessity for me, because I guess you
right,
could say they're my siblings on four legs. So.
right. And I understand that because I have pets myself. I have 5 dogs, so a lot of people are like, "What in the world?" But I always tell people, listen, if you can afford them, why not? Right? If you love them, you can afford them, just do it.
Oh,
But so I couldn't imagine being the only sibling. I have 4 brothers, but I primarily grew up with one, my younger brother. And I don't know, I guess it's because I had that experience, right? Like it's
hmm.
probably been like maybe, I don't know, minus out the adult years, I think only 1 year I was without him. And that year was rather different for me. It was different. And I was like, wow, I'm missing a big part of my life. And then we got reunited and it's been great. So,
Yeah.
now we're adults. We're on different paths. So,
Yeah, I know. It's just different experiences. It's how you look at it. I mean, I didn't have a choice, neither did
right,
you. But I'm grateful because it taught me how to be more resilient, actually, because I didn't have anybody to depend on. And I entertained myself, and nobody told me what I could or couldn't do. I mean, my mother to a degree. But, I made myself busy, happy, productive, reach out to friends. It was all, I was the decision maker.
right. Okay. So what do you do for a living?
For a living, I mentor individuals who have um, want to increase their resilience, whether they've been maybe diagnosed with cancer or have gone through a divorce or some loss, because we all need resilient skills to get us ahead. And so I help women be empowered because they feel comfortable that they have the tools and the wherewithal and the strength to overcome whatever challenge it is that they're facing, because behind any challenge that we have, there's always a gift or an opportunity. We may not look at it that way. We may think, oh, poor me. Like, for example, with me with cancer, it I could say it saved my life, because had I not known, I may not be here today. But it taught me what my mindset, how powerful it was, and how I could overcome it. And I, in turn, have taught many people on their path to overcoming cancer or other challenges. So it opened that door for me to be able to share my knowledge, my skills, my resources. So it just sort of depends um, on what really feeds your passion, and for me that is. And also, I really like speaking because I've got so much experience. I taught at our premier nutrition school, at wellness centers, chiropractic offices, health food stores. So I mean, I've taught all over the place. Smaller crowds, larger crowds, and again, it feeds my soul, because people look up to you for guidance, for inspiration, for what should I do next. So I just love it. And, I'm also a healthy home inspector because a lot of our toxins that cause cancer are in the home. And especially now, the problem is with microplastics. People have no idea how badly the problem is. So I go into people's homes if they live close by, or I can do it like a FaceTime or a Zoom home inspection, followed by a questionnaire, and I point out things that most people have no idea that they shouldn't have them in the house. And
Right.
with microplastics, for example, most people don't realize that we consume the equivalent of 5 credit cards worth of plastic every week, and it's really hard to get rid of, especially in our brain. And there's so many things you can do to minimize it. Buy things in glass rather than in plastic. Don't have air fresheners. Don't use a plastic toothbrush because the heat from the plastic releases toxins that go into your mouth. When you go to the coffee shop, if you're regular, most people just drink out of the cup that they provide, which is a paper cup, but it's lined with plastic. And then also the lid is plastic. So most people just lift up the little bit there so they can sip through it. Well, that the heat from your coffee is touching that plastic and releasing toxins that you are ingesting.
Mm.
So all sorts of little tidbits that most people don't realize. So I sort of enlighten them, as a preventative. And then for those that maybe have been diagnosed with something and they're thinking, I got to get rid of these toxins because we have toxins in the home, in our bodies, from the food we eat, the people we associate, the social media we connect with. So, unfortunately, we don't live in a very um, healthy planet today.
Got you. Okay. So, are you or have you ever been married before?
Oh, yeah, I've been married a couple of times.
A couple of times. Well,
Hmm.
so if you don't mind me asking, what happened with the whole marriage thing? Was it for you, or it just wasn't the right match?
Well, the first one was definitely wasn't a right match. We were both too young. Years doesn't mean you're too young. We were both too immature. And then the second one, I was on a path for personal growth. It really feeds my soul. It's been my whole life. And my husband was not interested. So I gave up financial security to pursue my journey in personal growth.
Okay. Yeah. So, listen, as far as marriage, you think that that's the end goal, or it should be people's end goal?
Well, it depends on what you want. If you want a family, then definitely, you should get married. I mean, it can be pretty lonely in your old age, but that doesn't mean um, a spouse is going to keep you company, because maybe you're just together because out of habit and you're not really don't have a whole lot in common anymore. So I mean, there's pros and cons in either way that you look at it. Some people are made to get married because they like to be around people, family. They like killed kids and all that, and other people really don't care. It's just we're all made genetically different, so neither is a right or a wrong.
Right. And it's crazy. That's the one thing about marriage is it's difficult. I mean, I never been married before, but I feel like I can speak on it because I feel like a marriage is just a extension to a relationship, or like a committed relationship. So
Right.
it's the difficulty in marriages, for I would say, is you have to spice it up. You have to always look for new things to do. You can't be stagnant, right? You can't be content. Every day I think you got to look for a way to please your significant other,
Oh,
or
absolutely.
make a game out of it, because it's like you said, like sometimes you might just grow apart. Like you go your own way. Like, I don't know, the things you found interesting before, as you get older, you don't find it interesting no more. And sometimes as we get older, that comfortable silence, we just grow to love, right? Like, I know as I get older, I'm okay with a comfortable silence, but I don't like being alone every day, all day. So, you know what I'm saying? But like, I enjoy just sitting back, no noise, no chaos, just me in my own space, just to gather my thoughts and just, you know what I'm saying? That's my solace, right? Sometimes I take refuge in the quiet. And sometimes when we get older in a relationship, we get too comfortable with that, and we tend to lose sight of the relationship. You know what I'm saying? So
That's
I
right.
think keeping it fresh and looking for new things to keep it fresh every day. to put a smile on each other's face every day is important. Like I like in a relationship for me, I like to when every day you wake up, I'm like, I love you more than you love me. And then if y'all both saying the same thing, then well, y'all making a game of it, and you can't go wrong. Y'all both challenging each other. You know what I'm saying? It's a challenge inside of a challenge. So I think that's a healthy way to go about any marriage or relationship.
Yeah, well, it's all work, work to keep your marriage happy, keep it thriving, keep it interesting. It's it's all work. Just like
Right.
it's work to
So
raise kids, same thing. It's work.
mm, yeah. Raising kids is work. It's definitely work. I have four, and I feel like for the most part, I have a good formula as far as the kids. I mean, I just get a different respect as far as the kids. Just my presence alone carries a lot of weight. My kids see me, they just I don't know, they just act differently around me. And a lot of
Mhm.
people are like, do you they probably scared of you or you probably intimidate them. I'm like, nah, I don't really have to do too much. They just didn't just know how to get in line. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the voice. I don't know if it's a masculine thing. I really don't know. But I don't question it because it works for me. And I
Mhm.
love going into the room where they're chaotic to somebody else, and I come in and they just straighten up. I love that. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Because people put me on a pedestal. They say, I don't know what you do, but you're doing something right. And so any words of encouragement or any positivity like that, like it just put a smile on my face. And at the end of the day, that's all we ever want in life is to be able to smile and be happy. So
Right. Be
um
happy, be grateful, be
right,
kind. You know.
right, absolutely. Are you religious?
Um, I'm not a churchgoer, but I do believe in God. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
So you would say you're more spiritual than
Yeah, more
religious.
spiritual. Yeah.
Okay. Um so what do you like to do in your spare time when you're not speaking or doing anything like that?
I like going out in nature. I have two dogs. They take a lot of my time. And we go and explore parks or trails or down by the water. Um, and I get inspiration by hugging a tree.
Mm,
It's that energy, that grounding effect on me. If I need a question answered or I need some guidance, I just find a tree with a big trunk and I hug it. And within 2 seconds, I have these messages pouring in that I should do this, I shouldn't do that, or, or other ideas. I love water, anything related to water, whether it's skiing or sailboating.
mm.
Um, and I used to be a chef, so I really still I'm very cognizant of putting healthy food into my body, and so I enjoy um, cooking for myself, even if it's for myself. And I do a lot of dehydrated, gluten, dairy free, sugar free treats, and I hand them out to people on my walks. Just a little happiness in your tummy goes a long way.
I hear that. And you speak in my language when you say you like to cook, because I'm a chef as well, and I am currently working on my own little small business in the food truck industry. So I can't wait to get that started. But I know it's a slow process. It's nothing you should rush into because when my father used to tell me haste makes waste. So I can't rush into something and fail. I have to make sure everything is lined up and everything's in order. But yeah, I love the fact that you love to cook because I hear the words cooking, kitchen, restaurant. It just put a smile on my face. A lot of times I like to go places. If I taste something and I think it's good, I'll go home and try to recreate that dish.
Hmm.
I'm pretty good at like tasting things and knowing like most of everything that's in it, right? Like
Right, yeah.
that comes with time, I think. So, I come home and I taste it and I'm like, all right, it tastes similar or it tastes better, and then I like to make samples and let other people try it. And then when I get the feedback, then I'll take it from there. So right now I'm just working on a menu. I got like several dishes that I'll be doing. Normally people ask me what's my go-to. I don't really have a go-to. I'm a foodie and I like to cook, I like to experiment, and I wasted a lot of money trying to create my own dishes. Because sometimes I sit here and I'm like, well, I think this would taste good with this. So I buy a whole bunch of groceries and I concoct this dish. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. But that's how you become a good chef, right? Like, so you got to start somewhere. Nobody just wake up one day and say, I got it all figured out. So yeah,
Right.
that's just a little bit about me. Um, All right, so let's talk about this cancer thing a little bit. Um, so how did you first suspect that you had cancer?
I didn't suspect at all. Excuse me. It was a pap smear that determined it. I had no symptoms or anything like that.
Mm. So okay, so you had the Pap smear and they told you.
Well, and then they took a biopsy, and that's how they determined it.
Okay, so what was your initial reaction to the diagnosis?
I just, when I got the phone call, I just said thank you, and they said, we want to book you in for your surgery, and I just, paused for maybe 10, 15 seconds, and as I hung up the phone and said thank you, I knew in my heart right then that I was going to beat it. I had no idea how, but I knew I was.
Mm. Okay, that's powerful. I mean, just to be that positive. I know for me, I know I would be shooken up if I heard the news. So and it just seemed like you dealt with it pretty well. You wasn't scared or anything like that.
Yeah, no, not at all. No,
Mm. If your mommy asked what kind of cancer was it?
uterine cancer.
Okay. Mm. Yeah. See, like for me, just to hear something like that, I'd be nervous. Like I had a little injury. Oh, I cut my arm, the muscle that came out and stuff, and then like so it's doing a lot better now. It's just I still can't lift things. And I remember I was in the emergency room and I asked when was I going to get like full mobility, and the doctor says, to be honest with you, you may not ever get full mobility. And that alone, I was like, oh no, no, this can't be. And it put me on edge, made me nervous. And every day, like, well, I tried to move my fingers a little bit. I'm just a positive person. I can't allow negativity to enter my mind like that. But I remember looking at the doctor like she said the most damaging thing in the world. Like because I nobody wants bad news. So in a way, that kind of scared me. So that's what I'm saying. So you got diagnosed with the cancer and you just dealt with it well. That's you know that speaks to your strength.
Hmm.
Um, so can you describe the treatment process that you underwent?
I changed my diet. I was living on the West Coast at the time, and the raw food movement was a really big item. So I switched from traditional chef to raw food because it's a lot easier to eat. A raw soup in the summer, in the wintertime in Vancouver, when the temperature only gets down to like 40 degrees, versus in Ontario gets down to minus 20. So raw food. I embraced that. I got rid of all the toxins in my home, from cleaning products, toiletries, um, just the whole 9 yards. And I invited a group of girlfriends over, and we did some a meditation, and we focused on me being cancer free. And so I just focused on that for every single day. And then I was really cognizant of what I ate, and what I brought into the home for you know toiletries or cleaning products or anything. I didn't wear makeup for 2 years because they're loaded with toxins. So
Right.
I made lifestyle changes. So,
So how did you cope with the physical and emotional side effects of treatment?
well, I didn't get any treatment.
Okay, no treatment.
No, I didn't. I did it all by myself, with diet, with mindset, and with getting rid of the toxins. Once the doctor
Okay.
called me, I never went back.
Oh, interesting. See, I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know a person could beat cancer without like intervention of treatments and things of that nature.
Yeah,
Um,
that's right.
so
No medical intervention.
okay, so you went in, you got a Pap smear, and then they told you about it. So they gave you a list of things like preventatives. Is
No,
that
I
what
didn't.
happened?
No, I never went back.
I'm saying they didn't give you any like steps or things that you could do.
They
You just
wanted me to have surgery. I never went back because I had no reason to talk to them.
oh, got you. Now, were you just against it, or you was just you was like, guys on my side, I know I'm gonna beat it.
I'm not a supporter of allopathic medicine.
Got you.
So,
And you always been that way?
well, I used to work. I was a lab technologist. I worked in a hospital for, I don't know, 12 years or something. So I know a little bit more than most people know about reading lab tests and surgeries, and just health in general.
Gotcha. So, can you tell us how your life has changed since becoming a cancer survivor?
Nothing's changed because I embraced a new lifestyle. I'm still doing it today. I still eat primarily definitely plant-based food, primarily raw food. That means not cooked, so absolutely no meat. I really watch the cleaning products and toiletries I bring into my home. I do a lot of meditation and practice gratitude and kindness, and so my mindset is very positive. So nothing's changed. I just expanded a little bit, and there's more toxins on the planet today, so I'm really more aware of it. And like I said, I did take some courses to teach myself about health, and one of it was the Healthy Home Inspector. So I'm very much aware of the toxins that we put into our home, the toxins people live with, and the big one today is the microplastics.
Okay, okay, I got you. I mean, like I said, that's good. That's good. So I mean, and this was like 25 years ago, right?
Yep.
So 25 years without meat. How was that transition? Was it like a smooth
I,
transition, or was it hard for you in the beginning?
no, it wasn't hard at all. I wouldn't eat meat if you paid me today. I just don't have I just don't have the taste buds for it.
Right, right. I got you. Yeah, I mean, just me personally, I couldn't imagine I eat meat. It's a lot of people that don't eat pork and stuff, and I'd be like,
It's
yeah,
all about
I like my pork too much.
it's about mindset and about habit.
Got you. Okay. So what advice would you give someone that was or is diagnosed with cancer?
Connect with me. I'll give you some suggestions. But in the meantime, I would say um, decide that you can conquer cancer um, with a positive mindset, some lifestyle changes, and you can become victor at the other end and be a lot healthier than if you underwent treatment, because the research is showing if you go on, you're better off not doing anything than going the conventional way, and you would live longer. You know,
Right,
because the conventional way, it's um, you don't you don't get rid of a toxin by injecting toxins into a body. If
right,
cancer is a toxin, chemo and radiation are more toxins. So how can you be cancer free if you're injecting more toxins?
right. And it's crazy you ask that because for the larger part of my life, I always heard cancer survivors or cancer victor or cancer warriors, right? And I always looked at it and said, okay, if you survive cancer, there's no more. But as I get older, I hear cancer patients or cancer survivors tell me like, no, we still got to go through treatment because it can flare up at any time. And I was like, wow, it's true that you really learn something every day because I didn't know that. Like I said, I thought one to be called a cancer survivor means you beat it, it's over with. I have a friend. She go through a couple of uh uh not surgeries, but she makes a bunch. She go through a couple of appointments every week, and it's crazy, like 3 or 4 appointments, radiation and things of that nature. So I couldn't imagine. Like my heart goes out to her and anybody else that have to go through that. But that's another thing. You just talk about the radiation. Like I always thought, like does isn't it harmful to go through that? Like like
Hmm.
mentally when I think about it, like radiation, I feel like it's be a detriment to you
Hmm.
because
Yeah, there's
a lot of times. Go ahead.
no, no, it's okay. There's a lot of docu series on cancer that are available that really enlighten people from a lot of traditional doctors that went holistic, and what they learned along the way, and the more recent research the on the dangers of the chemo and the radiation a lot more than they ever experienced, than they ever thought before. So it's about being an educated patient. What can I say?
Right,
And if you're when you go to see your doctor and he's going to say, well, you need to do this, this, and that, then ask him, if this was your mother, if this was your child, would you put them through this? Ask them that.
right. I mean, I think most people look at it like these people these doctors and stuff, they get paid for, right? That's what they get paid to do. So I think people just put the trust in their doctors in their hands and say, hey, well, it's a reason why such thing exists in this world. I think a lot of the people that's the way they look at it.
Yeah, but doctors don't get any nutrition or health teachings in medical school. Zilcho. They don't know anything about what a good diet is. They don't know
Mm,
about microplastics or toxins in the home. They don't know any about that.
right. I
You know,
mean,
they're just taught to put a band-aid on your problem, and a band-aid is not a solution.
right. I mean, if somebody if they can treat somebody and they're able to live out the rest of their life, right, or for many years, I mean, isn't that more than a band-aid?
Well, everybody's different. I
Right.
mean, you can't speak uh, for everybody. Everybody's different. Just
Gotcha.
because the treatment, if they hadn't gotten the treatment, they they could still very well be alive anyway. But you
Right.
will never know that.
Right. So, who would you say your biggest sources of support is in your life currently?
Um, but, um, all the research that I do on it, and the feedback I get, I post newsletters on LinkedIn every day, and I have this resilient joy boost, this short little video, and the feedback I get from people really feeds my soul, and I just want to keep on doing it. And then when I get incredible um, testimonies from people saying, I feel so much better, I feel so much confident. I had no idea that I could feel this way and be more proactive and better decision making and be confident about it. So when people tell me this kind of stuff, it really feeds my soul. I mean, that's why
Right.
I enjoy doing it. It just because I'm impacting and making a difference. That's the whole
Right.
thing. I want to leave people feeling better, happier, healthier, one conscious and joyous step at a time.
I like that. I like that. So with that, let me ask you this. Um, what are you most grateful for?
I'd say probably my cancer diagnosis because it just changed the direction of my life. I would have been a traditional chef. I'd probably be flipping beetle burgers in Cancun today. Like who knows?
Right,
Um,
right, right.
it just it was a it's a real education for me because when I was diagnosed and started studying about health and nutrition, that was all Greek to me. I had no idea about the food that we eat and the tox. It was just foreign. So it really changed the direction of my life. And through it, one of my key values is to bring joy. And so I approach strangers at the dog park, grocery store, ATM machine, and I share a joke. Why? Because laughter has been shown to um, lower cortisol, raise serotonin and dopamine, the feel good hormones in your brain, and laughter promotes longevity. And so, laughter, gratitude, kindness, they're all on the higher frequency scale where cancer cannot exist. So, besides the knowledge I have about cancer prevention, the fact that I have the gift to bring a little kindness into people's lives, they look at their life a little bit differently. And like I said, behind every trauma, there is a gift and opportunity. It's just how you look at it. Like, for example, you you broke up with the guy, but you met somebody better and married him. You didn't get that house deal, but you got a better house. You didn't get that job, but you got a better job. A really good example is Christopher Reeves. He said the happiest days of his life were his last 3 months. Because of his spinal cord research, he was able to impact so many people's lives. Not being Mr. Superman, not being the equestrian, but helping people.
That's powerful. I like that. And from and this the weird thing is this. I don't know if I should say weird, but like for me at an early age or a young age, I always said that one of the biggest things I wanted to do before I leave this earth was to change the world or make the world a better place and contribute to making people happy and making other people better. And it kind of just stuck with me the rest of my life. Like even now, like I like to give back when I can, right? I always look
Mhm.
for different creative ways where I can give back. Now, I know you can't save them all. I understand that. It was a point in time in my life where I drive on the road and I see homeless people. I always stop. And what changed that for me a little bit is when you start seeing people and you give them the money, and then like a couple blocks up, you see them wearing regular clothes, or they go to the liquor store as soon as you give them money, or they go, shoot up or something like that. So I had to change my mindset a little bit. So now it's like every once in a while I'll do that because every day I try to do a good deed, whether that's with the homeless or give a motivational speech to somebody or advice or something like that, make somebody laugh. Every day I try to do at least one good deed, and that brings joy to my life, and I know it brings joy to whoever's hearts or lives that I touch. So that's where
Yeah,
I'm at with that.
a hug, a smile, a compliment, a
Something.
handout goes a long way, you know. And
Absolutely.
taking a neighbor who lost her loved one out for dinner, cutting the neighbor's lawn, the senior neighbor's lawn, walking her dog when she had a fall and she can't walk anymore. There's all sorts of random acts of kindness you can do to bring a little bit of joy into people's lives, and sometimes you never will. Like for
Right.
example, several years ago, I was living in a high rise, and I would take my dogs for a walk across the street. And I befriended a young man from the Philippines having a cigarette on the corner who had come here to look after his brother who was suffering from cancer. And he would take him to doctor's appointments and chemo and that kind of thing. And so every few weeks I'd see him and we'd chat for a few minutes. And then one day he announced to me that his brother had died. And would I go to the funeral reception um, at the funeral home just down the road? And I said, well, yes, of course. So I arrived at the funeral home. I went into the chapel. There were about 30 Filipino women sitting there. I made my way up to my friend. He took me up to the casket. I had never met his brother. We exchanged a few words. They were waiting to ship the body and the casket back to the Philippines so their mother could be there for the funeral. And then I left. A few weeks later, I'm walking down the street, and a young Filipino woman approaches me and she says, were you at so and so's funeral a few weeks ago? I said, yes, I was. She says, you have no idea how you impacted our community. If I had never run into her, I never would have known. But the point
Right.
is, the fact that I found out has just touched my soul. And a perfect example, sometimes you never know how you will impact somebody's life.
Right. It goes like they say, don't judge a book by its cover, right? None of us ever know what the next one is going through in life.
That's
So
right.
I try my best not to judge people, and sometimes somebody might be rude to me or just like nasty, right? And initially, I don't get mad. Where when I was younger, I used to like get real mad and not take the time to consider that they might be going through something. That came, as I got older. But because sometimes people just go through things like hurt people, and when we go through things, not consciously but subconsciously, we might lash out the wrong people. So if I could diffuse a situation, then I'm gonna do it, right? And it's also about reading the room. Sometimes if you just read the room and you don't get those vibes that you can de-escalate a situation, just give that person space. And a lot of people don't know how to give people space, right? Like sometimes people mentally they tell themselves they're trying to help, but they're in essence they're just too pushy. They're going to keep asking the questions, and it might not be the right time to be asked those questions. You gotta allow somebody the space and the freedom to speak when they're ready. And like I said, that comes with like discipline, and that's something a lot of people need to work on. Is this discipline?
Right.
Um, um, Now you had mentioned like traumas before. Like I feel like everybody has traumas in their life at some point. I am currently working on an autobiography for myself because for years I've been saying I'm gonna write a book, and it's like it's tedious. It's something you gotta be dedicated to. You gotta be committed. It's a lot of hard work, just like anything else in life. Like we talk about the marriage and being a parent. But I always want to know about my triggers. I always want to know why certain things set me off. I always wanted to know where my anger came from, or why I think the way I think, or why I do the things I do. So years ago, maybe like 15 years ago, it might even be further back than that, I always say, if I write an autobiography and then I'm going through the process, I'm rehashing childhood memories, maybe I can pinpoint certain things. And so far in doing that, I've realized a lot of things that was right there in my front of my face that I just wasn't paying attention to. I think for me, like the biggest thing was the lack of attention and feeling alone or empty or not getting the recognition. I think for me that was more traumatizing than anything. Now a lot of people feel like it's mind over matter, but it's not. No, I don't think nobody wakes up and say I want to be in a bad mood or I want to cry or I want to be sad. So for me, like it's about recognizing what my triggers were in these traumas, so I can come with an action plan to resolve it. Right, because every now and then, like it could be something that happened a week from now, and for some reason, the way my mind works, I think of every negative thing that happened in my life, and now I'm spiraling. Right, which is not healthy. And everything in life starts with self, so I have to show myself love before I can love somebody else. I have to come to terms with myself, with my mental well-being and everything else. That's why I'm a big advocate for mental health right now. Like, whereas before I was never on that. I was like, oh my God, here we go. Everybody want to talk about mental health, but it's a real thing because
Hmm.
I suffer from mental health issues. Just my parents did what they could, right? And I say they was great parents because they never gave up, right? And we all have our faults, so we can't look at faults in people and say, well, they wasn't a good parent or that person wasn't a good person. Because I think as long as somebody tries and they continue to try every day, they don't give up. I think that's powerful. That's the best thing anybody can ask for. You know what I'm saying? So when you said traumas, I just wanted to share that with you. Um, so how has spirituality or faith played a role in your experience?
Well, spirituality for me sort of takes in, there's only love or fear on this planet. So,
Mm,
you know, so I really, you know, pay attention to that. And, mindfulness, meditation, heart math, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic um, balancing because your heart speaks to your brain. And I don't know, just coming from a place where you treat people with respect, with kindness, you forgive them because everybody's fighting a battle and they don't have the tools that you do. So just give them the benefit of the doubt. Um, I don't know. It's just, love versus fear. That's a really big one. I listen to Marianne Williamson every day, and she's got some really profound messages that, be the best you can without criticizing. Just accept people where they are. And, with every thought, word, deed, or action, treat everybody with kindness. Because again, it comes back to that energy frequency. You want to vibrate at that higher frequency of love, joy, gratitude, kindness, not down at anger or hatred. Dr. Emoto did a beautiful experiment. He took 2 glasses of water, he froze them. Under one glass, the word was written love. Under the other glass, the word was written hatred. He took the crystals from each glass under high-powered microscope, and the one that said anger was all a gnarled piece of ice, and the other one was a beautiful snowflake that have been under the glass that said love. So we're energy beings. We're like, I don't know, 80% water, whatever, and so what thoughts we think, say, feel. Um, they vibrate at a certain frequency. So you want to vibrate at a higher frequency so you can ward off negativity, disease, unfortunate incidences. Lynn McTaggart has a really good, is very good. She's known for her power of 8. And she says, when you resonate at a powerful frequency and really focus on what you want, it will come to
right.
be, you know. And you're like the saying, if you think you can, you're right. If you think you can't, you're also right. So,
Never heard that one, but it sounds good.
yeah.
Yeah. So I also like the fact that you brought up the whole frequency thing because I mean, I believe in it because it's like I be telling people like you know how sometimes you can go in a room and you don't know this person or that person, but like you go to this person and it's just you just feel this joy. You just it's just this feeling I can't really put in words. Whereas you can get around some certain other people and your hair stand up.
Yeah.
So years ago, I started to think like, why is that a thing? Right? I'm not saying I believe in the devil or nothing like that or evil. I'm not saying that's what I believe in, but it's like I feel like it's negative energy in that room or around that person, and I don't say that to say like you should shy away from it because like sometimes people just need help. I think we all need help. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So sometimes just because it's a negative energy, you can turn that negative to a positive. You just got to know when to get in, when to get out. So
Right. Exactly.
it's the one beautiful thing about life, man. It's so mysterious.
Mhm.
Life is full of surprises. Life is full of joy, full of a whole bunch of things. You know what I'm saying? So that's that. What message would you give? What message would you like to share with others about cancer awareness?
Um, Explore the various options. Don't decide on one particular modality, um, treatment without doing a lot of research. There's a lot of respected sites online that you can look up.
Right,
Um, and like I said, really big, really important is ask the doctor when he tells you what he thinks you should do. Would he recommend that to a family member, to his child, to his mother, to his wife, and see what it says, because that really speaks volumes.
right.
And
I mean,
if it's the mindset. If you, like I said, if you think you can, you're right. If you think you can't, you're also right. So commit that you're going to do it, um, with positivity and making lifestyle changes, and really focusing that I'm a victor. Visualize, I am a victor. I am powerful. I am healthy. I am alive. I am, whatever. And really visualize that. Like really every single day, put up pictures in front of your office space or in the bathroom mirror or in the kitchen of you. Hug yourself every day. I am strong. I'm a victor. I attract miracles. I am a magnet for good health, whatever it is. And really, really say it and believe it. The whole thing is just saying it out loud is really powerful, and then really believe it. Say it with meaning, not just flippantly that you're reading, something. Say it with meaning.
right, right. I hear that. I mean, that goes with the same thing goes for a lot of things. Anything you do, it should be with conviction. Anything you do should be with a purpose or in a sense of urgency, right? Like, I tell my kids that all the time. Like, if you're not giving it your all, it's like, why are you doing it, right? Like,
Yeah,
anything we do in life, you should do it with conviction. You should do it with a purpose. You know,
absolutely.
like I truly believe that because that's how you prosper. Everybody want to prosper. Everybody want to grow. So in order to do that is to challenge yourself and not put a cap on yourself, right? Don't set limitations for yourself, right? Like the sky's the limit. People say that all the time. So I think that we just gotta every day have the mindset that we're gonna be the best version of ourselves as possible and just
That's
go out
right.
and do it.
That's
Right. And
right.
like you said, don't just speak it, you gotta do it. You gotta put in
Mhm.
the work. Life is all about work. I always say to people like, it's not enough time in a day. Well, I mean, and I still believe that, but this is the thing. That's the challenge. Because guess what? If we had more time, we'll still do the same things, but just for a longer, for an extended period of time. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So a lot of times when we say that, or at least for me, when I say it's not a lot of time in a day, I say it because I lose focus. I might like my to-do list might have 10, 12 things on it. I might only do two. Well, somewhere down the line, I lost focus. So if there's more time in the day, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to continue to lose focus, right? So that's where we got to zero in. We got to lock in, and we have to regain that focus. We have to be disciplined, right? That's a big word for today. It's discipline. You got to be disciplined. And you got to be dedicated and determined to pick a few things. Like it's a saying. Let me see if I say it right. My old boss used to tell me like, how do you eat an elephant?
One
Right?
by one.
You heard that
Yeah.
one bite at a time, right? It's like baby steps. You got to crawl before you walk. So all these things that like growing up as a kid, we like, oh, we don't want to hear that. As we get older, we start to realize we start to understand why so many adults have said it because they lived life before us. They shared the same thought process that we're sharing. So it's a learning curve. So when I say that it's not enough time in the day, it is. We just gotta utilize it correctly. So that's one lesson that I teach my kids all the time. Like, listen, have a plan. Like I tell people all the time, not just my kids. Like I tell other adults, have a vision board, have a planner, right? And then when you wake up in the morning, drink coffee. If you drink coffee, find some time to yourself and say, what do I want to accomplish today? Write that down. Stay organized, and that's how you become the better version of yourself.
Right.
Right. Now, that woman you said before, you said is Marianne Williamson,
Yes.
and who is she? Is she a motivational speaker, or what is she?
It's a motivation. Well, yeah, she ran for presidency or VP or something in the in the states before Trump.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so um, she's a motivational speaker. She's an author. She's a teacher. She's very influential. She has really great her daily mindful her daily 1 minute or 2 minute message always has some kind of profound meaning in it. And then she'll comment on politics. She's extremely intelligent. Um, what title would I give her? She's more than a motivational speaker. She's an author. She ran for I think I don't know whether she ran for president or VP, but it was before Trump.
Right.
Um, yeah, she's great. She's authored many books. Return to Love is one of them that I followed. I know, and many more since. So I really encourage you to look her up, Marianne with an E Williamson.
Okay. Yeah. So when you said it before, I wrote her name down because I like to listen to motivational speakers,
Mhm.
especially in the morning. Sometimes in the morning, when you're still trying to get yourself together, I think that's
Right.
a perfect time to put on something because I go like to YouTube and put motivational speeches, and I like to listen to it, or on podcasts, right? Like I do this podcast, but like I also listen to podcasts, and sometimes I just go to Spotify and I put motivational speakers, and things pop up, and I click on it, and because I love quotes and I love anything that's going to be impactful. I love anything with substance. I like, what I'm saying? Anything that's going to allow your mind to grow and think, right?
Mhm.
So, I'm all about that. So as soon as you said her name, I wrote her name down because that's what I do. I like to listen to deep messages. Um, so how do you plan on bringing health, hope, and happiness to the world?
Through my speaking, through my writings, through my books. Um, I do videos. So, you know, getting out there in the public eye, whether it's for small numbers online or large numbers in person, and then, getting people to share the message.
Okay, I hear that. So before we close out, um, what else would you like to tell the audience and the viewers about cancer or just life in general?
It's just a wake up call that you're not really treating your body the way it should be. And so make changes. If you got a divorce, then it's a wake up call that maybe a mismatch, but maybe you should be working more on relationships, how to cultivate good relationships, both of you individually or singularly. Anything that happens that's negative, like I said, it's a gift or opportunity for learning. So just be grateful because you may not get another chance. Um, there's always lessons to be learned for everybody because we're not perfect, and we may be an inspiration for somebody, whether it's our kids or strangers or colleagues or neighbors. And it's all about sharing, giving, and just being kind. Kindness, gratitude, and joy is what will bring you happiness. And it's not material goods that bring you happiness, it's those inner emotional uh, dialogues or comments or um, what you listen to. That's what will bring you happiness. If that's what you want to leave on the planet, or if happiness feeds your soul, that's the best way to go about it to get it.
Okay, I like that. Now, I'm not sure if I asked you this earlier, but do you have kids of your own?
Yeah, I've got one daughter.
One daughter. Okay, how is she?
She's okay. She's raising four kids, so she's a busy mom.
Busy mind. I know. Like I said, I got four. It's work. We go back to that word, work. It's a task, but we love our kids, and yeah, I mean, kids are amazing, man, and watching that growth on a day-to-day basis, or month to month, or a year-to-year basis, and when we have kids, we got to cherish them while they're small. I know a lot of times parents like to rush the time and say, "Oh, I can't wait till they start walking," but then they start walking, and then you say, I liked it better when they wasn't walking because they get into everything. And then it's like before you know it, they moving out. And then you see them sparingly when you want to see them all the time. So as parents, that's one thing we got to do is we got to cherish our kids. We got to always be there. We got to be the best version of ourselves so they can be the best version of themselves. Because we are, specifically mothers. Mothers are the first teachers of civilization, right? And then the fathers. So if they don't learn, if we're not teaching, they won't learn, or they might go to the wrong person and learn the wrong thing. So we are the first teachers of civilization. So, with that, we just got to be the best version of ourselves so we can expect the best version of them.
That's
Right.
right. Right.
So before I sign off, I just want to thank you for your amazing story and your testimony. I know getting this out there, has or will have a lasting effect on yourself and other people. Because sometimes people just need to hear stories like this,
Hmm.
um, to know that somebody survived cancer, or looked the devil in the eyes and overcame it. Like, and it's motivational. We was talking about motivational speakers and stuff. It's motivational to know that in the darkest corners there's also light, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So, but all right, so that's going to conclude today's episode. Hope everybody enjoyed it, got something out of it. Continue to like, share, comment, and support. And you have a blessed rest of your day, and we'll stay in touch.
Great.
All
Thank you
right,
so much for the opportunity. It's been delightful.
I appreciate you.